To last video in this series. This video is going to be about exporting. I know that the video on basic titles and stuff was still using the old version of Adobe Premiere. I don't know if you noticed, things might have been a little bit different, but don't worry about that. That I left it there because it still works. It's all kind of the same. Basically, all you'd have to do is go up here to this workspace and go to captions and graphics, and then the rest of the video would be the same. So I kind of skipped over that, and I'm just here to show you how to export. Okay, so exporting looks a little different in Adobe Premiere 2023. So we have to back ourselves out to our timelines. Okay, now I know from the original time that we started this whole deal, I only had one timeline in here, which was this editing tutorial spring 23. But every time I had to kind of redo a video, I needed to start a new timeline. So now you see multiple timelines here. So again, don't be confused by that. So what you want to do when you need to export is you need to locate the timeline that is the one that you want to export as your final project. So right here, I'm going to click on this and make sure it is selected so that I could export. And there's a couple different ways you can go do this. You can click on export, or you can go file, export media. Both places should take you to this new screen right here. Okay, so on this new screen there are a bunch of different options you can do, but a couple things that you have to make sure you understand that you did this correctly and you're headed in the right direction. Number one, you need to make sure that the file name is what you want it to be. Okay, so the file name is going to be whatever the sequence or timeline was named. Okay, so if I go back to edit, you can see editing tutorial spring 23 take 3. That's the name of my file. If I want to name it something else, then that's fine too. So now I'm going to go back to export. It's going to take me right back to that screen. The next thing you want to do is navigate where you want the project to go. Now I have it going to this folder where everything I export goes, and that's where I look for it. But a good place to send it would be back to the file where all your material is on your hard drive, that project file, not the project file specifically. So again, I'll kind of show you here. Let me click on it. So instead of navigating there, I'm going to go back here, Santa Ana College, editing tutorial here, and then in here. So this has all my projects, my cuts, my raw footage, my music, and then at the end, it would just have an export of my final project. Okay? So I'm just going to cancel that, and the only reason I'm canceling it is because I just want to export it and have it go where I normally have stuff go. The next stuff you can look at, this is the format, the codec that you want to use. H.264. Okay, that is definitely the codec you want to use. It has a whole bunch of different other ones. Depending on where you're exporting it, you might need to choose something different, but don't worry about that. The other thing is you can select the quality of the footage. Okay. A lot of times you can just match your source, which, whatever bit rate and everything it is. But right now I'm just doing the 1080p because that's what the footage is, okay? And you can go into each one of these and make adjustments if you want to. You can kind of go in here and adjust it to something different than what you have. You can go in here and make audio adjustments, but putting it at the AAC format, 48,000 hertz, that's pretty standard. Okay. There's other things you can do. The other thing you can do if you want to is you can kind of log it in and tie it to your Vimeo or your YouTube. So if you just want to take a video from Adobe Premiere and just export it straight to your YouTube channel, you can do that. Okay, you just have to set it up and get it going. But once you have everything dialed in where you want it to go, right now I got it pretty basic. The big thing for me and for this class is you want to use the format H.264. That's a big thing. Right here, it's going to show you all the output settings. So this is my frame rate, 23.976 frames per second. It's a 1080p project, which means it's high definition. The codec is H.264. It's telling me how long the project is and some other parameters. The one thing you want to keep track of is this estimated file size. You want to keep these file sizes low. If you see that your file size is like 1 gig or 2 gigs or 3 gigs or 4 gigs large, then you're making a selection up here that is way too big. Okay, so make sure that you pick small file sizes. Keep to this H.264. You don't need to export anything larger than, I guess, probably 2K. I guess 4K you could export to YouTube in 4K because sometimes it can hold it. But just be conscientious of the file size, especially if you're going to try to upload it to Canvas. If you're going to have big file sizes, you're going to have to upload it to YouTube, to your YouTube channel, and then submit a link to me so that I can look at it that way. Okay, and then you just hit export, and then the file is going to start to export. So that's all you need to do to get a project exported. Then go look for it in the file. When this process is done, you can go find your video, your completed video, in the folder that you sent it to. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Got one more video to show, and it's just going to be some little tricks and tips that hopefully will help you along the way.